Tom Holland is one of the greatest writers and directors of all time. From 1985's Fright Night, which influenced my entire generation of filmmakers, to creating the iconic wisecracking slasher good guy doll Chucky, to being the only guy brave enough to take on the terrifying task of writing the follow-up to Alfred Hitchcock's seminal film Psycho and knocking it way out of the park with the brilliant Psycho 2, Tom's work played a direct role in shaping the filmmaker I am today. He's an icon, an idol, a fatherly figure, and a genius with a knack for story who is still sharper than half of the fucking idiots my own age trying to make movies. But best of all, he's a dear friend. I'm Adam Green, and tonight, Tom Holland joins me for my scary sleepover.
The truth is, and I say this with all loving kindness, Stephen King is possessed. He did a cameo in Langoliers and in Thinner, but in Langoliers, he didn't want to come down because he was too busy writing. Then he got down there because you always call somebody before they're going to shoot because you want them there in case things change.
Of course.
So 2 or 3 hours before. And he was absolutely frenetic to get back to his writing desk. And finally he gave up and he started reading the local Bangor newspaper. And guess what section he was reading? And I had a picture to prove it.
Obituary?
Yes. It's a huge ET, isn't it?
Yeah, it's this was kind of hard to get, although I think you can still get them, but when it first came out for pre-order, it was like I had to have it. In fact, I have more ET stuff over here. A lot of this stuff is originals, and I have like the Burger King glasses and the action figures still in the boxes. These are like the original trading cards that I had when I was a kid. This was like the special edition version of one of the releases, but
Oh my goodness.
right, plays the song and all the discs are in there, and then ET comes out. Do you remember the ride at Universal?
Yeah.
It was based on this, which was supposedly going to be the sequel, where E.T.'s home planet gets sick and Elliot goes to help save his planet. William Kotzwinkle. Mm-hmm. So written by William Kotzwinkle. Now, Dave Parker, who you know.
Mm-hmm. Love Dave Parker.
He gave me this. So he handed this to me, and I'd been looking for it forever. He got it at Dark Delicacies in Burbank, and he said, here.
God bless Dark Delicacy.
And he said, here, I know you've been looking for this. And I was so excited to finally read E.T. and the Book of the Green Planet. And he said, well, you'll never finish it. And he said, it's impossible to finish. Nobody can finish it. I've tried 5 times, and I can't get past page like 55.
Don't tell Mr. Kotzwinkle.
I won't. Well, hopefully Mr. Kotzwinkle isn't watching this. So Psycho was the movie that made you want to make movies.
It blew my mind.
But when you got the job writing Psycho 2, I mean, it must have been both a dream come true and a nightmare.
A nightmare.
The pressure.
I was terrified. I mean, I was truly terrified because you knew that you were going to get critically killed for just having, for daring to do it.
Or at least now everybody recognizes how great Psycho 2 actually was. And Norman Bates at that point was the only famous killer, villain, whatever you want to call him, because that was after Frankenstein and Dracula and all that, and it was long before Freddy and Jason and Michael Myers. There was really nobody else that popular.
What Hitchcock did was he took emotionally complicated characters. I mean, you felt sorry for Norman.
Yes.
And you were emotionally involved because you knew that Norman had been f***ed over by his mother.
But you latched onto that in Psycho 2,
Yeah.
and when that movie begins and Norman's trying to have a normal life, I mean, and how people are treating him and how they're trying to make him go crazy. Now, and that was such an interesting angle to take for a story, and I think that's why it succeeded, because you didn't just make it about repeating everything from the first movie.
No, boring.
So, I mean, it's really amazing that it worked.
Well, it started out, Psycho 2 started out as a cable movie. In order to get it to be a feature film, I had to write a script that got Tony Perkins to commit to it. Because without Tony Perkins, you had a pale imitation.
Yeah.
So the only way to do that was to write a part that was that arced emotionally and that was complicated enough that Tony would say yes. And the way to do that was to take the empathy, that Tony created as an actor, that making you emotionally involved with him and feel sorry for him. And so I had to find a way to make Norman the victim. And so out of that, somehow, I came up with the idea of, he was finally sane and released from the institution. And of course, Lila, the sister of Lee,
Yes.
Was going to drive him crazy again. We need a napkin.
Yeah, they're melting, right?
Or two, yes. But really good horror quite often is suspense. So it's very dependent upon the build. You're waiting forever. You're waiting 4 or 5 minutes for the doll to attack her.
But you also let the audience in on it before the character.
Well, yes.
Which helps a lot.
Well, but that's Hitchcock saying you want suspense is putting dynamite underneath the table and letting the audience see it, but the character in the story does not know it. So the audience is sitting there waiting for the dynamite to go off. I don't want to say always, but quite often you use comedy as a release. But with the doll, there's something intrinsically ridiculous and funny about it. So that's why you're able to add humor with Fright Night. It's a gonzo horror fan convinced that his next door neighbor is a vampire. Well, there's something about that that's funny.
Yeah.
That's different.
But that's what makes you feel safe as an audience member in getting into that world and that story, and you go for it. You buy all of it, and you are scared when the scary stuff starts happening, because it's very hard to endear an audience, like in a slasher film, for instance, to endear your audience to characters that are dead serious for those first 20 minutes of setup before that first kill's coming. But if you can make the audience laugh and really like and enjoy these characters, then you've got them. And they'll go through that ride with them, and they'll care when they're getting killed because they like them.
So horror seems to employ all of film language, really. To me, Chucky isn't a slasher film. It's a suspense piece with a rising arc. It's a mother trying to save her son from a killer demon doll, and that's ridiculous when you say it.
The fact that you took something as innocuous and simple as a doll and made it terrifying, iconically terrifying. I don't know if I could do you think I could do that with a Yorkie?
Well, Yorkies are, I was going to say they're lovable.
Yeah, Arwen, you want to be a horror star?
But if the Yorkie was possessed by something of terrible evil.
So, all right, so then what scares you, in real life? What are you scared of? What some people are scared of?
Oh, God,
heights or spiders or Yorkies?
Yorkies. Oh, Adam, I really don't know. Failure, not being loved. When you say really, really scared of, God, everybody's afraid of getting sick. Of being, there are all kinds of terrifying things. Being locked in, being a quadriplegic. Can you think of anything worse? And with your mind still working. I could go on and on like that.
Wow. I don't know how you're still.
I don't know either.
I'm exhausted.
Falling asleep. Shall we go to bed?
Yeah, I used to be able to.
How are we going to get the Yorkie to go to bed, though?
She doesn't go to bed.
She doesn't go to bed.
No, she'll keep chasing the ball herself.
Well, I want to thank you very, very much for having me over this evening for the sleepover. And it's been a really terrific time and a terrific discussion.
Thank you.
I think I'm tired too. So we should both go to bed. Just for the record, you fell asleep first. How old are you?
39.
Pussy.
I say it all the time, there would be no Hatchet without Fright Night.
You really tell that to a lot of people?
Oh yeah, every interview I do.
Here's $20. Please stop it.